Hey guys, welcome back to AF Farms for this video on how to set up a dairy farm in Farming Simulator 22. Let's get into it. Alright, so we just loaded up a new game. So we're in new farmer mode, we're on Elm Creek. Straight out of the box, we haven't changed any of the settings, so we're going to get straight to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to harvest up this wheat. So if you haven't done the in-game tutorial, feel free to do that. However, if you have done it before, you'll know what to do. And we're going to get started straight away. So what I'm going to do, jump into this guy, get everything connected, and we're going to plant grass. So the reason why we're going to plant grass is to create hay for our cows. So we should be able to plant grass pretty much year round, except for winter. So we do have seasons turned on, so I'll quickly show you that. So that's what the crop calendar is all about, and if we come down to grass, we can see that it can be planted in August. So this is going to become a grass field. Right, so for the dairy cows, we need a place to put them, so I do have a space in mind, which is going to be in this plot just here. So let's get this other tractor moved out the way. So we'll get him connected. So we're going to utilise this field. So first of all, what we need to do is we need some cash. So let's go and get a loan. So we're going to borrow the 500k, which is the maximum you can borrow. So let's add that money in. Right, so the loan repayments on that are going to be about 1,666 per month, so not very much at all. Alrighty, let's go and have a look at cows. So we're going to focus on dairy first. So we're going to go probably the cow barn 45, so 45 capacity that is. So for 250,000, we could go the large, but that would drain us of our funds. So I think this is a better option overall. Now, a couple of things to consider here when you're placing this down is just to make sure you've got good access in and out of the barn, and the access points are basically where this roller door is on either side. It's a drive-through setup, so I'm thinking we'll butt this up next to this silo, probably pretty much as far over as we can go. Yeah, let's just align it with the field. So the field corner, or thereabouts. I've got snapping turned on, so it's going to place it at sort of a square angle for me. If I can just get this positioned, and then we're good to go. Cool. So we've still got access around that roadway. We've got access to the milk point, which is here, animal dealer, which is there, feed point, which you can kind of see through those roller doors, and then the slurry point just here. So that should work out quite nicely. Alright, next thing we're going to put down is we're going to put down a solar panel. So I'm going to put the solar panels just next door here to the barn. So we want to come into productions, go into generators. Now I've probably got that tractor in the way, so let's get that moved. Okay, let's try this again. So productions, generators, let's go the large solar collector. So this is my go-to. Might only be able to place one here, You know, actually, what I'm going to do is I'll use that as a parking area, and I'll put the solar panels in where I normally put them, sort of down this area here. So it just allows us to get them in a bit more condensed. So let's go 1 and 2. So that leaves us with 158,000 to play with. The reason why we're doing that is because we will get a passive income of about 3,000 to 4,000 per month out of those solar panels. And because we're going to be sleeping through various cycles to get the various crops, and when I say crops, the grass in this case, to grow and harvest to get bales for feed, we'll get an income every day that we're sleeping. So that's the rationale behind that. Okay, so let's get this field cultivated in preparation for some seeding. Okay, so let's go and do that. Okay, great. Now let's go get this connected. So I think what we'll do is we will keep... Actually, no, we will sell this trailer. So we're going to take it down to the store. So we're going to keep the tractors. So we're going to have 3 tractors. We'll keep the combine. Actually, no, we will get rid of the combine because we're focusing on dairy. So we're not going to worry about grain crops. So I'm going to drive this guy down to the shop, and I'll see you over there. We're also going to get rid of this lizard pickup. So let's drive him over to the shop as well. So the reason why you want to take these down to the shop to sell them is you do get a bit of extra money for them, rather than selling them directly from the menu. So let's just cruise down here, get these sold. So there's our tractor we sent up earlier. So we'll let him park up. And then we'll come over into this area here, which is the workshop slash sale trigger. Come over to this point here, push L3, and then we've got an option to sell. So we'll sell that for 22,000. Now it's a good idea to sell things early if you're not going to use them, because they do depreciate in value the longer that you hang on to them. Now currently I don't see a need for this trailer, so we're going to get rid of it. And we are going to buy a mower. We'll go through the pieces of equipment required with all the tools, but let's just sell some of this stuff so we can get some income. So this is going to give us 11,000. So let's sell that. Now the other thing with the solar panels is we're going to lease potentially the equipment. So the leasing costs are going to be quite low, but they'll be well covered by our solar panels. Okay. Now the reason why leasing is good in the initial stages is because it'll allow us to maintain our cash flow, and we can sort of go from there. So let's see if we can drop this header off. Don't think that's going to work. Just something tells me. I may have gone around the wrong way here. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this header connected. We should be able to hook this trailer up. Yep. And what we are going to do is pop this wheat into our silo. Alright, cool. Job done. Now I'm just going to drive this guy down to the shop, and then we're going to sell the combine, the header, and the trailer. So while I do that, so it's going to be a bit of a long trip, but I'll see you guys when I get there. Alright, here we are at the shop. So we're just going to drive over to the sell point. Alright, here we are in the sell point, so let's go to the interaction. So we can see all of our items here. So we'll get 110,000 for the combine, 25 for the header, and then about $1,000 for the trailer. So let's go ahead and sell all of these. Cool, so that's brought us back up to 329,000, which is quite good. Alright, cultivation is underway. So what we'll do now is we'll get grass planted in field 45. So let's get that underway as well. So the plan is we'll have grass in 46, grass in 45, and then we'll start with that. Next thing we're going to do is go and buy some animals. So let's go and do that. Actually, what we'll do is wait till we get some feed first, and then we will worry about getting some animals. And the equipment we're going to need, so we're going to need a mower, we're going to need a tedder, we're going to need probably a baler, and we're probably going to need a windrower, okay? But we're going to lease all those items. One thing we are going to try and do is look to the used vehicles. So your used vehicles will be different to my used vehicles. It's a random drop. So what I'm going to try and do is focus in on base game equipment without using mods. At least that way you'll know what to get from the store. But if you do see the same item for sale in the used vehicle sales, by all means, look to get that purchased. All right, so what I'm going to do is let these guys do their thing, and then we'll come back in once they're completed. All right, so that's all planted. So that's 2 fields of grass. So let's get these guys moved off the field. Let's go and have a look at the field. So what do we got? Needs lime, it needs rolling. So rolling is basically an optional step after we've done the seeding. Okay, but we're not going to do that. That'll just give us a yield bonus of 5%. And needs lime. We just need to throw lime in this field if we want to get a yield bonus. Now, if you didn't want to deal with the lime, which we're not going to at this stage, you can turn it off in the settings. So I'll quickly show you how to do that. So in this section here, game settings, crops and growth, default periodic plowing is turned off and lime is turned on. So if we turn lime off, we will get the yield bonus from doing the lime, but we're just going to leave it as is because I'll show you how to deal with that later on. All right, let's do a quick stock take of the farm at this stage. So we're about half an hour in of actual gameplay, but the edited gameplay will be a lot shorter. So 2 fields of grass, 45 and 46. So the benefit of grass is we plant it once, it grows, we harvest it, and it grows back. We don't have to continually replant it. We've got our cow barn, so we've gone the smaller of the two, which is not, so it is the cow barn, which will hold 45 cows, as opposed to the pasture, as opposed to the large barn or the barn with feeding robot, because they're quite costly. Okay, so we're still sitting on a good amount of cash. We've got the grass that we need. Now what we need to do now is go to sleep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do that at the sleep trigger. So we're going to sleep till 9 AM. Now going to sleep here allows us to get a growth state on our grass. So it's going to need to have 2 growth states before we can harvest it. And we're not going to worry about purchasing any leased equipment. So you can see that there's 7,440 in property income. That's from our solar panels. So let's go and have a look at our grass. So first growth state is underway. So if we come into the crop menu, go to crop types number 2 and grass, you can see that there. And if we have a look at the growing, so the growing is dark green, so that would signify that it's just about to go off to the yellow state, which is ready to harvest. Does need lime and fertilization, but we'll cover that later on also. So let's go ahead and sleep again. This will take us into October. Now the other thing with the cows is you can buy the feed from the shop. So in this case, the hay that we're going to be making. However, it's cheaper in the long run to grow your own. And that's what we're going to do. Okay, so loan repayments of 1,666 and property income of 8,000. So that's from our solar panels. So happy days. Okay, so you can see there we've got our grasses ready to harvest, so we can get our first cut underway. So what I'm going to do is come back to this guy. We're going to go to the shop and we're going to lease some mowers. So we're going to go for the, any of these will be fine. Just make sure they match your horsepower requirement. But I'm going to go the Kun GMD 3123F and the GMD 8730F. And we're going to lease both of those. So that's the one for the front. So let's lease that. And let's lease this one, pressing square. So it's got the base cost of 500 per work day and per work hour. So that's what it charges you to have it per hour that it gets used, and per day just to have it on your farm. Okay, so they are sitting over here. So let's get them connected. So pretty much any of the starting tractors will take these, except for one of the John Deeres. I don't think one of the John Deeres doesn't have a front attacher. 3-point in this case. Okay, so we're pretty much all set here. So what I'm going to do is drive this guy back to the farm, and then we'll get set up with cutting the grass. So I'll see you over there. Right, here we are. So we're at our field. So let's go ahead and get these guys unfolded. So we want to unfold the mower, lower it down, turn it on, and then switch to the back tool by pressing triangle. Do the same, unfold the mower, so you can see that getting lowered there. We'll hit circle to lower it at the same time, turn it on. So now we've got both front and rear mowers mowing, or running, sorry. Now before you move over the grass, you can see that we're getting a cut field state. Now one thing you'll notice is there's 2 types of grass we can see here. So we've got the verge grass, which is to the left of the field, and then the darker green grass is our field grass. So we can cut both types, which what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cruise over here to demonstrate. We can cut both grass types, no problem, okay? Now if we want to do this with a worker, the worker will only cut the grass that's in the field area, which is the darker of the 2 in this case, okay? So if you want to cut the verges, you've got to do it manually. But if you want to get a worker to do the main field, you can do that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a lap around, and then we'll come back in and set this guy off on a worker. So see you guys in a second. Alright, here we are. I've done a bit of a headland, so that's just a lap around the outside. And now what I'm going to do is we're going to be into our grass field. So I'm going to hire a worker by hitting circle, and that's just going to do straight up and down runs of both fields independently. So if we jump out here and have a look in a second, you'll see, rather than what I did where I just drove into the second field, this guy's going to stop, turn around, and go back the other way. So it treats each field independently, which is totally fine. Now what we're going to do now is we're going to grab probably, let's just have a quick look at our tractor stock. So if we go into our garage, medium tractors, we want the 7810, which I believe is this guy. So we'll grab the 7810, we're going to go back to the shop, and we're going to grab a tedder and a windrower. So what that requires me to do is to drop off this front weight and seeder. So I'm going to put the seeder just here, and then the front weight we'll just swing around. And I'll put that just out of the way so it's not going to run into anything. Just there. Alright, so let's go grab a tedder and windrower, and I'll explain what they are, what they do, and some options over at the shop. So I'll get this guy onto a worker down to the shop. So it just saves me having to drive down there. So he's driving there automatically now. Alright, let's have a look at the equipment. So we want to come into tools, and first of all we want to find a tedder. So a tedder basically takes cut grass, which we've got underway with our mower at the moment, and then converts it into hay. Okay, so it just allows it to dry faster. It's just a game mechanic. It is what it is. Now, two options. We can really go any of these, but we're probably going to go the Kun GF 8712. Pretty low horsepower requirements, about the same as the Vicon. So we're going to lease that. So let's lease it. And then while we're here, we're going to look at windrowers. So there's a couple of different windrowers here. So there's two main types. There's a conveyor belt type, which is this type here, the Merge Max 950. Okay, but quite expensive. And then you've got your traditional windrowers, which basically rake the material up into a single, easy to manage row. So what are we going to go? Kun Squadro. Probably go the Samaz, to be honest. Yeah, let's go to Samaz. So it's got a 8.4 working width. We're going to lease this as well. Okay, and that's them sitting there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to hook up the tedder to the front. Now you don't use the tedder on the front of the tractor, although I'm sure you probably could. And we're going to connect the windrower, which is the Samaz, the green one, to the back, because it's trailed, so it's going to be easier to tow rather than the tedder, which is just fixed to the 3-point. Make it a lot easier to manage heading back to the farm. Alright, so let's head back to the farm, and then we'll get into the tedding and the windrowing, and then we'll go from there. Alright, here we are back at the farm. So it looks like our worker is having a rough one, so let's get him back on task. They gotta be careful, sometimes they'll want to cut at a 45 if you don't line them up correctly. So now for a small field like this, I'd probably just do it manually myself. So they're going to be a little bit quicker, but just for our purposes to begin with, while we're sort of showcasing how to set up the farm, this is the way to go. Alright, so let's drop our tedder off just here, because we're going to pretty much use that straight away. And then we'll drop our windrower off just out the front here. Okay, so it looks like our work is done. So let's just grab this guy. Okay, tedder is connected. Cancel out this mower, and then we'll start mowing the other field. So what we're going to do is I'm going to quickly whip through, just do a bit of a headland strip here, just to make sure these guys aren't going to run into each other. So it's lower mower, turn on, lower, turn on. Now what I will show you guys how to do is to join these two fields together in a later part of this tutorial, because then that'll increase the field size and the amount of grass that we can cut in one go. So let's get this guy moving. Okay, so he's off on a worker. Happy days. Alright, let's grab our tedder. So let's unfold the tedder. So currently we've just got grass on the field, which is fine. But now we're going to turn it into hay, right, by tethering the grass. Now the reason why we want hay is because the cows will eat grass, hay and silage. TMR. Now hay will give you 80% effectiveness, whereas grass only gives you 40% effectiveness. So for the extra work process of doing the hay, it's very much worthwhile to do that. TMR will give you 100% productivity for milk. Okay, so because we're going down the dairy path, that's something we want to look towards in the future. But when we get some cows, so I'm not going to put the cows in just yet. I'm going to wait till we get some hay bales stocked up, and then we're going to go buy some cows. So what I'm going to do is just quickly whip around this headland area, and then we'll get back into our field area, because our worker won't work in the non-field area. And therefore I'll send this guy off on a worker. We've now got, so I won't show you that you've got hay, it just says you've got cut grass, but you can tell the difference between the dark green and the light green to signify that you've got the hay texture, if that makes sense. Alright, let's grab this guy. We're going to drop that off, and we'll just pop that there, and we're going to go grab the windrower, and we're going to start windrowing. So basically we've got 3 jobs on the go now. So we've got windrowing, mowing, and tedding. Okay, so we're starting to get our efficiency up in preparation for making the hay bales. Okay, so let's get this guy unfolded. Now one thing I will do is I'm going to go over to a larger area of hay that's already been cut, because you don't want to merge grass and hay together. You just want to try and stick to the one type of material, which is fine. Okay, lower the windrower, turn it on, and now we're basically just going to cruise on through. You can see we're getting a nice windrow of hay out the back, which is what we want. And then we're going to come through in a second and bale this up. So now what I would do normally is I'd do a headland row around here, but because we've got multiple workers on the go, it just seems like that's going to be ideal. So this guy's going to tether that little section in the middle there. This guy is finished with the mowing, so let's get him off the field. So let's go and disconnect these mowers. So let's just drop that off there. Drop that off there. So I'll send this guy back to the shop on a worker, and he's going to grab our baler. Okay, so send him back to there. Let's get our windrower underway again. So turn the windrower on. We should be able to hire a worker now. And then we'll go ahead and get this field tethered as well. So I'm going to lower the tether, turn it on. Now I'm just going to tether this headland area quickly. So it just doesn't matter if this worker gets interrupted briefly. It's just to ensure that they don't windrow grass and hay together. And also we're doing our verge grass here, which we talked about before. So we've got to do this manually. But you can see we're getting a bit of hay production pretty early, which is what we want. And this is going to form the basis of our feeding strategy. So while the cows are feeding and while we're generating milk and slurry, which I'll cover off in a minute, so we should be able to hire a worker now, because a portion of the field is field state, and the other portion is verge grass, so we should be all good there. Okay, leave him to do his thing. Right, let's assume control here, and let's go and have a look at balers. Alright, so our tractors, range in horsepower from 190, 175 and 170. So that'll determine what baler we can get. So if we have a look at balers, got a couple of different options. So round baler is probably the go-to. So these guys here will do silage. So they've got a silage wrapper on the back. That's what that white foil thing is. These guys here are higher horsepower but high density square bales. I think this one's actually a round baler. In the UI down the bottom you can see the type of bale that it will do and the size of the bale. Okay, and then we're getting into the really big ones, and then we've got a couple of DLC items towards the end. But the one we're going to go for is the Kun VB 3190 for 57,000, and we're going to lease it. So let's set this up as a lease. Cool, and that's it right there. So its horsepower requirements were, if I'm not mistaken, 100 horsepower, yep. So we're still sitting on about 330,000, which is ideal because we're going to go buy a bunch of cows soon. But first of all, we need something to feed them, so that's why we're not getting them yet, because all they're going to do is just sit there and starve and not be productive. So let's get this guy back to the farm, and then we will carry on. Alright, here we are back at the farm. So we've got our baler ready to go. Our windrows are done, just about. So what we can do is we can send this guy off into the adjacent field, so hopefully this will work, to start windrowing this section of hay. And then the hay on field 46, you can see that there, is ready to go. So let's jump into our baler. So what we're going to do is we are going to, first of all, change the bale size. So we can go 125, 150, 180. So let's go 128.5 to start with, because this is going to be the smaller of the scale. Turn the baler on, turn on automatic drop. And then basically what we do is we drive over our windrow, so you can see that there. The bale's now filling up. Once we get close to 100%, it'll beep. Will begin to beep. So our tedder is finished tedding, so that's why he's just chilling there. So you can see that there, we're starting to get the indication that we're about to hit the max. So once we hit 100%, the bale will come out. Now it's quite a small bale, but the small bales are a little bit easier to handle than the big guys. So that's why we're going to go small to begin with. And then I'll show you how to pick them up and maneuver them around. Okay, so let's grab these little bits here. Now it doesn't matter if you miss some of this, which you can see our worker has missed quite a bit because we didn't do a headland. So next time we come through, this hay will just sit there until it gets amalgamated with the next lot of hay and grass from the next cut of grass. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cruise along this row and I'm going to go into the other field. Okay, that's 2 bales so far. Alright, so I'm going to continue baling this up and then we'll come back in once we are completed. So see you in a few minutes. Alright, so here we are, nearly done with the baling. So I've got a few missed areas which I obviously missed because I didn't do the headland row manually. So we can go through and pick that up if we really wanted to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it as is. I'm going to turn off the baler just here, so we're empty. And now we're all set. So we have 7 bales in total. Okay. Now let's go and discuss a few ways we can go and pick these up. So I'm going to send this guy back to the shop because we are going to need to get an implement. Now you can get a front loader for your tractor, okay, and a bale fork to pick these up manually. So this is, what are we talking, 335 kilos, which we can't pick up. So that's one way. So the tools we're looking at is a front loader for the tractor, okay, so we can modify our tractor to get one of those fitted, okay. If it can take a front loader, one way to check is if you come into your vehicles, in the top right hand corner it's got the information icon. So tractors are required to pull tractor tools and trailers. This tractor can be fitted with a front loader, so that indicates that it can take a front loader, okay. Now another option is a bale loader, okay, so we've got the Anderson RBM 2000 which will do this automatically, and then there's a couple of other round bale lifters, that type of thing, square baler. So these things are just will stack and merge the bales together, and then you've got your auto loading options, which for console and PC there's a few to choose from, but we're going to go this guy, the Anderson. So it's a little bit expensive, but it makes picking up the bales very, very quick and very, very easy, okay, and it'll hold 24 bales. So let's go ahead and lease that. So 125 centimeter bale, just make sure we've got the right size. So 125 centimeter, pretty sure that's the one that we picked, so let's go with that anyway. 130 horsepower requirement, so that's going to be nice and easy for us, so let's lease that. Okay, so you can see our leasing costs are starting to increase here, but we've got those solar panels there to offset that cost. Okay, so come over into here to fit the front loader, so make sure you don't sell the tractor. So X to sell, don't press that. We want to go to square, which is customize. We want to go to front loader attachment, and you want to pick the quickie or the hayer. So we're just going to go the quickie, and just take note of your tractor's horsepower, so 170 horsepower. So let's add that. Okay, configuration has been changed. Okay, cool. So let's get this out of the box, because anything in the box is a potential to sell. All right, come into tools, front loaders. You want to find the quickie that marries up to the 170 horsepower, which is this guy here, the Q7M for 10 grand. So let's go ahead and lease that. Cool. And we also need a bale spike, which we'll grab in a second. So the good thing about this is we can have the trailer on the back and the bale spike on the front. So let's hook the front loader up. So that is the front loader just there without an implement on there. Come back into tools, find front loader tools, which is this guy just here. And we want the Albert bale spike, which is this guy just here. So let's go ahead and lease that, and right next door. So this is going to allow us to pick up the bales individually, okay, which I'll show you why this is handy, because we're going to use the trailer, which is the one behind us, to pick them up in bulk, and then we're going to use the bale spike to take the bales in for feeding into our cow barn. Now the cow barn is set up as a drive-through setup. So you would use a forage mixer, but we're not going to use that initially, and I'll show you why. But basically it just gives us two options to handle the bales via the bale spike and then via the trailer on the back. So I'll show you how that works once we get back to the farm. So I'll see you over there. Right, here we are back at the farm. So we want to grab our trailer, put it into the operating position. So you can see this arm comes down, and basically all we've got to do is drive up to the bale. So this one is a little bit of an offending position, so let's pick him up and I'll move him into a loadable position in a second. So you just drive up to the bales in any configuration, so just like so, and it automatically stacks it for us. And what it'll do is it makes like a sausage, for lack of a better word, with all the bales together, and when we unload it, unloads them on their side. So we can see that there. Now we're going to get probably 7 bales in total, so make sure that's reset in time, which it has. Cool. So let's go grab these other guys up here, and we're just going to go stockpile these bales sort of out the front of the cow barn. So I'll show you where is a good spot to hold them. So for the next season, I'll also show you how to increase the yield of the grass, so you can get more grass bales out of this same patch. So our first harvest we got 7 125 centimeter round bales. Alright, let's turn this back to, you know what, I think what we'll do is, gotta turn this guy around. So I want to leave the milk point unobstructed, and I also want to leave the animal dealer accessible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unload my bales kind of not like that, but close to the, see if I can go to transport position. This might be easier. So just in this sort of area just here. Yeah, that's fine. Alright, and then unload bales. So what will happen is the arm will come down, this thing will tilt, and it just pushes the bales off the back, like so. Well, that should have got rid of them. Okay, this is not going to plan, but this is what happens sometimes. Alright, let's try this again. Hang on. It could be because I've got the front loader attached. Let's try this without it. Okay, so reattach. Okay, I think these bales have glitched out on me. So I'm going to fix this and then we'll come back in, because that's not how they should unload. Alright, so what I ended up doing was resetting the bale loader. So that doesn't normally happen. I think what happened there was it thought I was trying to put them into the pen. So if I just grab these guys, even these bales are still glitched out. That's alright. I'm going to put these straight into the feed point. So what we're going to do is open up this door. We'll get these guys speared again. So normally they won't pick up 4 at a time like this. So let's try this again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drop these off just in here. So I can see a couple have already been consumed. So if we go into the cow barn, they should show up as feed. Okay, now we've got some feed in there, so let's go and buy some cows. So I'm just going to go for the Holsteins. So Brown Swiss and Holstein are your dairy producers. Angus and Limousin are your cattle for breeding / meat production. Okay, now there isn't any meat production in the game, but they're basically just bred to be fattened up and sold. Whereas the Holstein and the dairy Brown Swiss are quintessential dairy cows, which are milk producers. Okay, so I'm going to grab 18-month Holsteins, and I'm going to grab 45. Let's go. So I want maximum milk production straight away. I don't want to have to wait for them to reproduce. Okay, and it's only going to cost me 74,000, which isn't that much in my opinion. Okay, but you can buy less mature cows if you want to. Let them grow up over time, but these guys are going to start reproducing and make maximum milk from day one, which is what I'm after. Okay, so we can see we've got 18,000 litres of food. So that was the hay that glitched out before, that has now gone in. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the rest of this hay. So we've got 3 bales. Now the good thing about the hay is that you can stack it up in the feed area, and it'll just consume it as it's needed. Okay, So that should go in. Yep, so that's disappeared. So it'll take us up to, say, 22,000. Okay, let's grab these last two. So this is from our first grass harvest. So if I grab that one. And hopefully we can grab the second guy. See if I can spear it a little bit better. Cool. Okay, so we've got both. Jeez, I'm not having a great luck with this bale spike at the moment. So it can be a little bit finicky. Let's just try one at a time. Make life a bit easier. Okay, and you can see the cows are feeding on the hay. Happy days. Let's grab this last one. Alright, we got the last one. Was being a little bit resistant, but we got there. Okay, let's drop this off. Alright, there we go. So, cows have now got feed. So, 31,000. So, they'll probably take another 4,000 or thereabouts. And you can see we're maxed out on hay, just about for 80% effectiveness. Okay, now what we can do, so let's have a quick stock take of where we're at. So we've got our cow barn, we've got 45 dairy cows, we've got 2 fields of grass, okay? We've got some hay left over, which we're going to get on the next run, but we're coming into winter. So hopefully these cows will have enough feed for the winter. Our solar panel income is going to drop off, which is pretty standard. But we're still sitting on about 258,000, which is a good position to be in with all the equipment required to make hay. 45 cows, a cow barn, and 2 solar panels. So still making 7,000, which is good. So our grass is already starting to grow back, as you can see there. Let's go and check on the cows. Okay, so their health is coming up slowly. So once they're at 100% effectiveness, that is going to yield us maximum milk for the 80%. So you can see we've got 2,000 litres of milk, 2,000 litres of slurry so far, which is awesome. So we're going to use that slurry for fertilisation on our grass. Okay, you can also roll it as well, but I'll show you how to use the slurry as a essentially free fertiliser. Alright, so we're into December, 5,000 property income. Grass should still be growing, so we can't harvest it through winter, which is pretty standard. But you can see there we've got our milk and our slurry is being produced, which is great. But we're down on hay. Okay, so these 45 cows, they've gone through that first batch of hay pretty quickly. Now, if you wanted to, you could ramp up the feed a little bit more slowly. But what I like to do is get them in there straight away, because we've already got 6,000 litres of milk to sell, which will sleep through till probably January or February when the grass is ready to cut again. We'll go and get a milk trailer, and then we'll start selling that milk off. And then we'll start utilising that slurry for fertilisation as well, so we can boost our grass yield. Okay, so we're in January. So our leasing costs are 1,800 and 4,000 property income, so that's still pretty good. Okay, cool, 50% fertilised. Should be out of food now. So the cows will just sit there. They won't die. You won't lose any. They just won't be productive. Alright, let's go and sleep again. Alright, here we are in February. So let's have a look how our grass is travelling. So growing, probably one more growth state. Cows are still unproductive, but we'll sort that out in March. So what we should see here is our solar panel income start to ramp back up, which will cover our leasing costs, but we're still making a profit each day. So 5,000. So we're still profitable. And if you wanted to check that out, you come into the finances screen, and you can see your profit and loss in the total column. So we've made 1,700 in November, 200, 300, 1,300 and 2,000 in the respective months. Okay. Cool. So this grass should be ready to cut, which it is. So let's go get our mower connected. So we'll grab any old tractor will do. So we should still have our hay, which we do in certain sections of the field. So we're going to switch out the tedder. Alright, let's get our mower hooked up. So after we do this cut of grass, I'm going to extend these fields together. So we have one big field. So we're going to need to get a plough. So we're going to go lease a plough. But just while we're... Okay, get hooked up. So just come to the edge of the field. Send this guy off on a worker. So he'll only cut the field grass, which you're about to see here. So even though the mower is interacting with the verge grass, doesn't cut it. Okay, so we're only going to cut our field grass just for the moment. Alright, let's go and let's go and have a look at milk trailers. So let's grab this guy, because we want to go sell some of this milk. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave this front loader just here. Send this guy over to the shop on a worker. And we'll have a quick look at milk trailers. So in the miscellaneous section, I think it is. So that's mods. Let's try animals. So we've got the MKS 8 and the MKS 32, which will do milk, water, fertilizer and pesticide. So the one we're probably going to go with is this one here, the MKS 8 for 25,000. So let's go ahead and lease that. And we're going to use this to transport our milk. So wait for this guy to get down there. We'll get this guy hooked up to the tedder in preparation for tedding. So basically this is the cycle that we're going to go through now. So we're going to get our feed up. We're going to stockpile our grass. So obviously we don't have enough grass to... Okay, I don't know what's going on with this tedder. Running away from me. Yeah, so we want to increase the yield first and foremost. We've also got our bale trailer sitting there that glitched out before, so we'll come back for that when the time comes. But let's go and grab some milk. So this is the perfect trailer for this. And then we can start making some money out of the milk. So I'm going to drive this guy back on a worker. Right, tedder is underway, mower is underway. We've got 3 workers on the go. Okay, let's have a quick stock take of where we're at. So we've got grass being cut, grass being tedded. So we've got 262,000. Still get our seeder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand these 2 fields. So this field here, we're going to play out this way and then join these up to increase the amount of grass that we can plant. Eventually we'd look to get rid of this barn area because you can use it for storage for vehicles and stuff, and for hay and other such things inside here. But I generally tend to delete it because you get some money for it as well. And then you've also got these fields out the back that you can look to purchase to upgrade and increase your hay production. Okay, so let's grab this guy. All done. So he's missed a little bit of the field, but not the end of the world. Now we can drive on our cut and tedded grass, that's no problem. Okay, just send him off on a worker through here. Let's go and grab some of this milk. So we grab our milk trailer and we come to the milk point around the front of the barn, which is just here. So if we pull up to this icon, we'll get a start filling icon. So that's 7,000 litres of milk. Now we can do a number of things with the milk. We can sell it as is. So if we come into the prices menu, find milk, we can find who's buying it for the best price. And the best price is January for about 2,264. So we are currently in March, so that's around the best price. So pretty much any of the places. So let's go Johnson's Farmers Market Bakery. Let's go to the bakery because it's going to be the closest. So the bakery is just down the road here, and you can see that by the green beam of light. Okay, so let's just quickly whip around here behind our worker. Looks like our tedder is stuck, so we'll come back for him in a second. But let's just cruise down to the dairy. So you can see it just down the road there. We'll get this milk sold, and then we'll get our first profit from the cows. So I'll see you over there. All right, here we are at the dairy. So let's pull up to the unloading point. So we should just get an overloading icon, which we do. So you can see our money is increasing. Now the bakery will only take a certain amount of milk, okay, before it won't take any more, which has just happened. Okay, so did we get paid for that? Yeah, we did. 15,000. Okay, cool. So we've still got a little bit left over, which is fine. But because basically anything we put into the bakery, okay, will become a production. So we can buy that for 50 grand. We're not going to, but that's why it has a limited capacity of what it can take. But when we buy that bakery now, that milk that we put in there is going to be in there. Okay. Now I don't know if there is an input for milk in the bakery. There might be. Same for the dairy. Once you fill the dairy up, you can't fill it up anymore. Johnson's Farmers Market, which is, I think, if we have a look at the map, I think Johnson's Farmers Market is up here. Yeah, so that's a sell point. So that's a sell point 100% of the time. It'll take as much milk as you can give it. But the whole goal with milk is to take it to the dairy and then convert it into other products. So I think we can turn it into butter, cheese, and chocolate if we have sugar. And then that just sort of builds out our production chains. So let's go and park this guy back up. And then we're going to come back in and do some more tethering. And we'll do another run of windrowing. And then we'll get stuck into some more baling. So let's get this guy dropped off. Okay, trailer is dropped off. Let's grab let's grab our windrower and go and windrow this freshly cut hay. And we'll go and grab our tedder and move him into the adjacent field. So let's do that quickly. Now obviously we're missing a bit of grass because where these solar panels are situated, so we'll sort that out eventually. But basically I'm just trying to showcase a couple of different workflow options. So this guy is tethering. Yep, let's get this guy moving. So because you start with 3 vehicles, so 3 tractors in new farmer mode, it kind of makes sense to be able to try and utilize these guys as best you can. Alright, let's grab this guy up here. So we're going to unfold the windrower. So this time we're just going to let the workers do all the work. Not going to worry about doing headlands or anything like that. Let's try this again. No field found, so just got to make sure we're on the field. Okay, so we've got windrowing happening, so in preparation for some baling that we need to do. What I'm going to do quickly is unload this mower. I'm going to go grab our bale trailer, the one that we glitched out on before. So let's pop that there. So we'll send this guy down on a worker to the shop to retrieve our bale trailer. Okay, target unreachable, of course. Try this again. But if you get targeted as unreachable, usually just get out onto the road. So when the AI will detect the roadways, and it's a little bit easier to get them to work. So let's try this again. Okay, set destination, center of the car park. Happy days. Alright, windrowing is happening. Tedding is happening. Cows have obviously got no food, but we're aware of that. Now, because we've got 45 to start with, that's basically, they're going to chew through the food very quickly, but we're going to try and sort that out as quick as possible. Now, we do have 270,000. Now, what I would probably consider to do is potentially get another field. So if we have a look at our PDA, which is this screen here, and we scope out some of the fields behind us. So we've got field 2 is quite cheap. Field 3 is quite cheap, and field 4 is quite cheap. So we could potentially buy all of those, and that way that will increase our grass supply. So maybe let's go field 20. So let's buy that, because it's only 56,000. What's it got in there? Nothing. Okay, let's grab our trailer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some grass planted in there pretty much straight away. And we'll get this. So this is where this trailer will become very useful for when we have to pick up multiple bales in one harvest. So the more field size you have, the more yield you'll get. So the more bales you'll be able to produce. So let's get this guy back to the main farm. Okay, worker D is finished. Okay, cool. So let's get him connected to the baler. And we'll start baling straight away. And this time I'm going to increase the bale size to the maximum, which is 180. So that just means there'll be fewer bales to pick up. Okay, so we're getting him into position. Jump into this guy. So I'm just going to leave it on the road momentarily. I think what I'll do is I'll leave this guy because I'm going to head back to the shop, I think, to grab a plough. Right, let's grab our windrower and head over to the other field. Get this windrowing happening. Alright, so that's the windrowing completed. Let's get this guy out of the way. Right, so we need to do some baling. Where is this guy? What are we going to do? We are going to start seeding. So let's grab this guy. So on our newly purchased field, we're gonna, looks like it's already cultivated. So I can see that from here, field 49. Let's get that seeded with some grass. So we'll go and grab our seeder, which is just hanging out over here from earlier. Alright, let's head on over to the field and get this seeding underway. So what do we got? Nothing. And that's barley. Okay, cool. Okay. Just make sure that grass is going in correctly. Yep, all good. Alright, let's get cracking on some baling. So we've changed the bale size to 180 centimeters, which is the full size for this particular baler. So let's turn it on. Let's lower the pickup and let's get baling. So of course I missed half of that row, but I'll come back and fix that up. Alright, I'm gonna get this baling done and then we'll come back in with the next part of the video. So see you guys in a few minutes. Alright, there we go. So that's the baling done for the moment. Let's drop this baler off. Let's go grab our bale trailer. So I think we've got 3 bales in total. So you can see the difference in bale number based on the density. Okay, let's see if we can get this thing to work correctly this time. So operating position. Okay. Now this thing probably does work better with larger bales, truth be told. Okay, let's go one more. And we're just going to unload them near the front of the barn. So I think that'll do a double stack. Okay, so let's go to transporting position. So I'm just going to put them in basically. Actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take them around this side, because I've got less things to run into and I can still drive them in through that other door. So if we go unload bales, just go unload bales here and drive off. Now if that had a full trailer load of bales on there, they'd come off in a nice neat row, but because there was only 3 on there, that's why it did what it did. Okay, so let's get this parked up over here out of the way for now. Okay, disconnected. Now let's go grab a plow so we can increase the field size. So we just want to make sure we've got the right tractor. So I want to grab the 190 horsepower John Deere for this purpose, which is the 4755, which I believe is this guy here. Yep. So we'll get him onto the road, send him down to the shop, and we'll go lease a plow. Okay, so while he's driving down there, let's have a look at the plows. So if we come into tools, over to plows, so we want upwards of 190 horsepower. So we've got the Agromaz POV5 XL, which is one we can use. You can also use a subsoiler. So if we have a look at subsoilers, what have we got? That'll do 3 meters. This will do 4 meters. Yeah, some of these are mods. I think we'll just stick with the plow. So we'll just go the Agromaz. 2.5 meters. No, it's a bit small. So these can create new fields. So yeah, let's just go with the plow. Just make it easy. So I'm just going to lease this one. So that's this guy just here. So what this will allow us to do is create new fields where there are no fields currently, which allows us to extend our current fields. So if I fold plow, that should line it up like so, just to make it easier to transit back to the farm. So let's send that guy off. Okay, how is our seeding going? So he's about halfway done, which is good. Obviously we've got no cow food at the moment, so let's go and see if we've got a tractor available for, which we do. So we'll grab our front loader, Now, because we've got the 9,000 litre bales, this is going to struggle to pick them up, and you'll see what I mean in a second. Because obviously the weight increases dramatically from the 125 centimetre bales, which were quite easy to move, up to the 9,000. So we potentially will get a bit of a forward tilting situation happening here. So if we do, oh yeah, not too bad. So if we try to pick up 2 of these, for example, we'd probably end up on our front wheels. Okay, so let's get these guys some more food. Okay, so that'll get consumed pretty much straight away. So I'm going to put these 3 in there straight up, and then we'll get cracking on some ploughing. So this should give us, I'm going to say 20-odd thousand litres, which will get us through probably 2 months, maybe 3 if we're lucky. So this is where we really need to start ramping up our bale production to keep these guys fed. Okay, if that can remove for me. Alright, so what is our feed situation? So 27,000 litres. Cool, getting a decent bit of slurry there as well, so we'll get a slurry spreader, which we're going to use for fertilisation of our grass fields. So we'll do that in a minute. Okay, plough is here, so let's get the plough working. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to join these 2 fields together. So what we're going to do, and we'll have to replant the seed when we do this. So let's go unfold plough. We're going to lower plough. We're going to allow create fields. And what that's going to do is going to join these up. Pretty straightforward. So all we have to do is fill this area in. So I'm going to drop that down again. Allow create fields. Right, so you can see now we're widening our field, so we can obviously plant more grass. Now we've got grass there already, but the worker can't harvest it. And it makes sense that we try and utilise as much of our land as possible for grass at this stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend these fields, and then we'll come back in, and then I'll show you what we've come up with. Right, there we go. So we've extended out this field a little bit. So let's go grab our seeder. So I'm just going to offload this plough. Now we can take it a little bit closer to the barn and other areas, but I'm just going to leave it there for now. Alright, so this guy has done, so this is going to be our new grass field, field 49. And of course he's missed a bit, but we'll come back for that. It's always a challenge with that field. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and get the worker to seed this for me. So this is going to take a little while, but we'll see how we go. So if we start from here, we should be able to get the majority of this done by the worker. So let's see if they can figure it out. So it obviously won't seed where grass is already growing, it'll just seed over the ploughed texture, which is good, which is what we want. And then we've got 26,000 litres of hay, so that's all good as well. Now we do need slurry, so let's go and grab a slurry tanker. Now the slurry that the cows produce is essentially free fertiliser, so let's go and have a look at our options for slurry spreaders. Alright, so we want to come into tools, slurry tanks, and then we've got a couple of different options here. The one we probably want to go with is the FarmTech SuperSys 800 because it's cheap and it sort of suits our field size so far. So let's go ahead and lease that. And now we can utilise our slurry produced by the cows as a fertiliser to increase the amount of grass yield that we get from our field. So let's hook this guy up. Right, send this guy back to the farm, and then we'll send him back to the farm on the worker, and we'll get him hooked up with some slurry, and then we'll go spread that on our field. So we've got our seed going in. Now we can either roll this, okay? So rolling is an option, but we can also fertilise. So I'd prefer to use the fertiliser because it's quicker, and we do have it on hand available for that purpose. So this guy is free at the moment, so we don't really have any other jobs to do. Cows are eating, 26,000 litres of feed. So we're going to run out of feed again before the year is out, but we should, so I'll just take over from this guy. We should be able to get an increased yield, which will give us more hay, and then we'll start to build out our sustainability, which will help us in the long run. All right, let's go over to the slurry point. All right, so the slurry is located from this point here. So if we pull up with this slurry tanker, hit start filling, so we can see the slurry's going in. So we've got 8,200 litres. Now if we cruise around, actually I'll just show you on the back of the slurry tanker. There's this little spout at the end here. That's what's going to shoot the slurry out and spread it on our field. So if we go ahead and, you can do a double application rate, which will give you a double fertilisation, but we're just going to do single application rate for now. Worker F has completed their task. Of course they have. So we'll send him over on this long run here to get our seed in. Now I didn't plough very close to the road, so it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. You can take it up as far as it'll let you, but I just like to keep it a little bit further back. Alright, so let's go from about here, zoom out a little bit so we can see what we're doing. Turn the slurry spreader on, and you can see we're spreading slurry across the field. So if I turn that off, and we just hop back out, you can see our fertilisation rate has gone from 100% in the fertilised area to 50% in the non-fertilised area. So currently we're getting a fertiliser bonus. So this is going to give us potentially double the grass out of this field, so which is good to know. So I'm going to quickly whip around, drop this slurry off, and then we'll come back in. Now while we're down this end, we'll just get a refill, and then we'll come back and do the rest of the field. So I'll just turn that guy off. Now I'm not too worried about getting 100% of the field at this stage. Just want to get as much as I can. Now how much slurry do we have on hand? Okay, so we've got 2 tanker loads. Now the cows will produce slurry as long as they're fed. Now obviously they did run out of food, so the slurry did drop off. But 45 cows, you can see, is giving us ample slurry supply currently, which is very good. Okay, we are overlapping a little bit here, which is what you want to avoid, because you're basically double applicating, which for our purposes doesn't give us an increase in yield because we can only get 100% fertilisation. Now we already had 50 from the prior stage, so let's just whip through, get this little section done, then we'll head over to the other field and throw some down on that. So we do get a pretty decent working width here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and do the outside perimeter primarily. So we might have just enough to get most of this section of the field. Cool. Have missed a few bits here and there, but that's okay. Next time we go to cut the grass, we will surely get an increase in the amount of grass, which will be great. Alright, let's leave this guy here. Alright, let's take over from this seeding, because he's just trying to seed in the most inefficient way possible. Okay, lower seeder, turn seeder on. So let's quickly rip through, get this seed in the ground. Alright, that's the seed in for the most part. We'll see how the growth pattern turns out. Alright, so let's see what we got. Still needs lime, so we should really look to add that as well. I mean, you can just turn it off, but that'll be giving us a yield deficit because we do need lime. There's a bit of grass that needs to be seeded in there, but we'll come back next time and do that. Just want to get another cut of grass underway. Now the field expansion that I just did is optional. You don't need to do that. You can just buy more land, or you can cut the verge grass manually. It's entirely up to you, but I just wanted to showcase how you can increase your farmable land. Okay, so we are getting a yield bonus of 80%, which is definitely up Cows are back to producing slurry. Milkers getting up there as well. So let's go ahead and sleep again until we can get this grass cut. Alright, making good property income from our solar panels, that's for sure. Right, so we've got grass ready to harvest, and we should have ready to harvest grass over in field 49, which it looks like we do as well. Alright, so the next step we're going to do is our cows are probably out of food as well. So we're gonna show you how to do total mixed ration. So to do that, we need equal parts hay to equal parts silage. Now, to do silage, basically we need, well, there's a couple of different ways, but probably the easiest way to do it is to get a silage wrapper. So one of these guys, so a round baler with a silage wrapper on the back. So there's a couple you can choose from. We're just going to go the class Roland uni wrap when the time comes. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook up a mower. Where's our Macy? So I'll drop off this front loader. Now you basically handle the bales basically the same way with the round bale tool and the bale fork and such. But our current baler will do grass, hay and straw, but it won't do silage. It won't do silage individually in a wrapper. We could buy a bale wrapper, which is one of these guys. So it'll take grass bales, which might actually be a cheaper option, to be honest. But it's a little bit slower. You can use this guy here. So this will do a bale sausage. Let's have a look. The beauty of having the baler is it's just two processes in one, and it's not a huge expense, but there are different ways to do it. Now, if we had less money, I would probably lean towards using an individual wrapper. So use our current baler, but then have to come back through with a wrapper independently. Whereas the baler that we're looking at, bales and wraps all in one go. Now, instead of tedding this time, we're just going to leave the grass as is, and we're going to windrow the grass, and then we're going to turn that into silage. So if I line this worker up, so let's go from about here, hopefully that'll work. Alright, let's grab this guy, and we're going to go to the shop, and we are going to demonstrate the bale wrapper. So one field we're going to do grass silage, and the other field we're going to do hay, because you need hay and silage to create TMR. So let's send this guy off on a worker. Let's do that. So this will be our silage field, and this will be our hay field. Okay, and then I'll show you how to mix up TMR, and we'll feed that to the cows. So there's a couple of other bits of equipment that we need to get, but we're well and truly on our way to being fully set up to feed these cows adequately. Right, so we are going to grab the uni wrap. So I'm just going to drive this guy over. Right, here we are at the shop. So let's go and grab the baler. So the one I prefer is the class Roland uni wrap, which is this guy here. So you can see in the UI, it'll do 125 centimeter silage bale. Let's grab, let's lease it. So we've got the horsepower requirements for it. It's all good. All right, let's get this guy back to the farm, and then we'll carry on. Alright, let's head on over to our other field and get this guy mowed, and then we'll carry on with our windrowing. So this should be ready to harvest, hopefully. Yes, it is. So let's get the mower underway. So this is going to be for potentially hay or silage. So we're going to go through the process of doing both. Hay and silage bales to make TMR. So let's send the worker off. Alright, let's get this guy back to the farm. So that's our new baler we just purchased, and we need to get our windrower underway, so let's utilise this guy. Now I have missed a bit of grass here and there, but this is just for the tutorial purposes to get things underway and showcase the steps that are required. So let's get this windrowing happening. Alright, so windrowing is underway, mowing is underway, and our baler is heading back. So once these guys are back to the farm, we'll take it from there. Alright, here we are, so we're back, and what we've got here is grass. So what we're going to do is do grass silage. So silage and hay form the basis for total mixed ration for the cows. So total mixed ration is a feed type to give you 100% productivity. So what we need to do is we'll go and turn our baler on. We'll come down to where these windrows begin, and we've got a bit of combination hay and grass here. So what I'm going to do, hopefully it'll pick up the grass as the dominant mix. Turn off baler. So this is just one bale size, so 125 centimeter round. So what that means is for our round baler over there, for the hay, we'll make them uniform, so the silage will be the same and the hay will be the same. So which means when it comes time to mix them up for total mix ration, we've got even ratios. So basically this guy functions the same way as the other baler, except for the addition of the wrapper on the back, which we're about to see once this guy is filled. So we'll get the beep. So I'm not sure if we can continue baling. No, we can't. So we've got to wait for the bale to hit the wrapper before we can start the next bale, which is happening right now. So that grass bale is now getting wrapped, and then we've got automatic drop hopefully turned on, so this should drop off automatically once it's cut. And there we go, first silage bale. So let's go through and get these guys baled up, and then we'll come back in. Alright, so we've got a few bales there. Let's grab our windrower and we'll head over to our hayfield. So actually what we need to do first is we need to get the tedder. So I'm going to leave this guy just there. We'll go and grab the tedder. So we've got to turn this into hay before we can do anything else. So I'll go and grab the tedder if I remember where I've placed it. Okay, just over here. Alright, get this worker underway. I'll grab our mower, get him off the field. Okay, so while that tedding's happening, let's carry on with the baling. So we'll get this baling done. So we've got about, looks like 8 silage bales. So obviously the gameplay loop when looking after cows in this fashion just becomes preparing a lot of bales for food. So now you can do silage other ways, so with the bunker, etc. But this is just convenient, easy setup. Obviously having the second baler is a bit expensive, so you could use an alternate wrapper if you want to save some money, which we talked about before. But having the 2 balers is handy because you basically got a silage baler and then you've got a hay baler, which is separate. Alright, we should be able to get one more out of this, so I'll quickly duck down this windrow. So I just need to go find some remaining bits, because I don't think we can eject a partial bale here, so if we can get one more full one, that will be ideal. Yep, just enough. Alright, so we'll let this wrap, and then we'll go through the pickup procedure, and then hopefully our tedding is completed, and we'll go and grab the windrower, get that hay windrowed, get that baled up, and then we'll mix together some TMR, so I'll show you how to do that. So let's get this guy off the field. Alright, let's go through the process of picking them up. So obviously we've got our round bale trailer here, which we can utilise for both of these. So I haven't left myself much room here, but we'll make it work. Alright, so they're both 125 centimeter round bales, so they'll get picked up no problem. Let's get this guy. Now this trailer is very, very handy, as I've mentioned before, when you've got bigger fields. So obviously as we expand, this will become more and more useful. If you want to look for an auto loading option in the mod hub, there's definitely cheaper auto loading versions, but for the purpose of the tutorial we're just going to stick with base game equipment just to make it nice and easy. Alright, let's get these picked up and we'll come back in. Alright, that's all of them. So let's go, and what I might do actually is we'll unload them over here, just so we've got enough room to sort of store them and move them around. Okay, let's unload them. Hopefully we don't have a glitch out situation like we did before. So if we keep holding down L1 here, what we can do is just drive out as they unload, and we should get a nice, if we get out of these trees, you get a nice stack of bales just like that. So that's what we tried to do before, but we were foiled by the physics of the game. Alright, cool, job done. Alright, let's go get our windrower. Actually, we can take this over to this field because we're going to be using it in the not too distant future. So pop him there. Windrower should be here. Alright, now we'll just go through the process of windrowing this hay like we have been. So I've set this guy off on a worker. Hopefully he starts at some point. That would be handy. Okay, let's go a little bit closer. Okay, there we go. So it just wasn't quite recognising the field there, so I just moved him in a little bit closer, and now we're underway. Alright, so let's go switch out for the baler, and we'll get baling straight up, minimise our downtime, which is what we want to do, and we want to make sure that we're using the other baler. So I'll get this dropped off, hopefully. Now I haven't tested whether or not the bale wrapper will wrap hay, so just to be sure, I am going to just use my other guy here, because this guy's already got hay in it. Okay, so that's the other thing to consider. If you've got two different balers baling two different products, you will have different material in each one. So especially if you've got, so let's turn the baler off. We want to change this bale size, so we want to go down to 125 centimeter bales to match our silage bales. Turn that on, automatic drop, and we should be good to go. But it is something you can test out if you just want to go the one baler, and we are leasing, so if it turns out that we were able to do that, we could definitely ditch one baler, save us some leasing cost. But for me, at this stage, it's probably not that big of a deal. Now, if we were using a square baler, we can definitely eject partial bales, which is definitely helpful in this sort of scenario. Okay, it looks like we're not going to get many bales out of this field currently, so that's fine. But I just want to go through the process of showing you how to acquire it and sort of work the two different material types, so the grass, silage, and the hay. Oh, and of course that's going to be a large bale. So because the bale that we previously were doing was 180, that's why we ended up with that. Obviously we changed the bale size, but it doesn't register until you've emptied the prior bale. So I thought it was taking up a lot of material. I guess we know now why that was. Right, so we're going to get one out of here anyway. So I'm going to finish up this baling, and then I'm going to go through the process of collecting them, and I'm going to grab some from the shop just to showcase. Actually, what I will do is we're going to bail out of the baling, no pun intended. We're going to grab this trailer. We're going to head to the shop, and we're going to go and discuss purchasing the bales. So you can purchase the bales that you need rather than making them. Obviously, because just for demonstration purposes I want to have some stockpiled, and it's a good opportunity to show you where to get them. And then we'll go through the process of mixing TMR. So I'm just going to get this guy onto the road, and then I'll send him down to the shop, and then we'll have a look at what's in the shop for sale. Alright, open our worker menu. Okay, so he's on a go-to. So what we want to do is we're going to come into the shop, we want to go into objects, over to bales, and we've got square hay, round hay, square silage, round silage, square straw, round straw. So what we're going to do is we're just going to grab 8 of the round hay. So these are going to be 125 centimeter bales if I'm not mistaken, and it's going to cost us six grand, so 6,700. Alright, so once this guy is over to the shop, we will collect them, and then we'll come back and mix them together for TMR. Now, one other thing we need to mix TMR is we need a mixing wagon. Okay, so there's 2 different options. So in the vehicle section under animals, you can get one of these guys. Okay, so a forage mixer will mix the food for you, and it's self-propelled. Okay, so it doesn't need a tractor. That's why they're more expensive. If you have a tractor available, which we do, we're going to look to get one of these. So the Silo King or the Fasten would be ideal. Okay, so we've got 2 options there, and they're straw blowers, which we don't need right now. So let's grab this while we're here, because we're going to use it straight away. So this is the Trade Line Silo King, so I'm just going to lease that. Okay, probably a little bit inconvenient that that's parked where it is, so let's grab another tractor. So I'm just going to leave our windrower here. We'll send this guy to the shop. Hopefully he can manage the go-to from there, which he should be able to. So we'll switch vehicles, and then we'll go through a proper demonstration of the mixing. So you can see the mixing blades in the top there. Okay, so what you basically do is you got to use your front loader, which we've got set up on the Macy, the red tractor, and they'll be used to pick up the bales, and then we put them in, mix it, and then out the side it's got a little bit of a conveyor belt to feed the pigs. So we'll go through that in a second. All right, let's get this guy over to the shop. A little bit of a traffic jam, but we'll sort that out. Right, here we are. So let's get this guy hooked up. Now we can load these up. We can load these bales in the same manner we did before. So let's get them connected. Operating position. So we just got to do one by one. So I'll do this and then we'll come back in. Alright, all loaded. Let's head on back. So transport position. Okay, I'm going to open the AI worker menu. Send this guy back to the farm. Alright, so we're going to take this over to where we've got our silage bales stockpiled. And then we're going to grab our front loader and we'll go through the process of loading up the silage. Silage and the hay to make TMR. So let's get this guy in position. Okay, that'll be pretty good. Okay, so we need to drop off all these mowers. Okay, there's one. Now it's a good idea to keep certain tractors for certain jobs just to logistically make your life a little bit easier. Especially if you've got multiple tractors. Obviously if you've got the one, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Having multiple just means you can utilize more workers, speed up your efficiency, and you can have 6 in total, which is quite a few. So alright, let's get this front loader attached. Okay, all good. Alright, and our other trailer should be here, so let's go and we'll get these guys unloaded and then we'll go through the process of mixing up some TMR. Alright, so just for ease of unloading, I'm just going to line them up in a similar fashion. So side by side. Alright, holding down L1 here, unload bales, and then I'm just going to drive forward at the same time. Okay, they're all clear. Alright, now we've got a few buildings in the way, but such is life. Okay, so let's have a little bit more a look at the forage mixer. Okay, so this is the forage mixer. Down the bottom right hand corner you can see what's in there. Currently there's nothing. If we hook up the tractor, okay, we can see that there is a mixing ratio underneath the UI with sets of arrows that show you the recipe. Okay, so we've got hay, silage and straw. So hay and silage will make total mix ration, and you can also add straw in there to pad out the recipe so you don't have to utilize all the straw on TMR. Okay, but straw and mineral feed are optional. Hay and silage are required to make total mix ration. So what we want to do is double check that we've actually got silage here. So see how this bale, if we inspect it, it's fermenting 6%, so it's not quite silage yet. So what we need to do is we need to sleep for 1 day, let that ferment into silage, and then we can utilize it, because currently it's still considered grass and we won't get the required mix. So let's let these bales ferment. It should only take a day, hopefully. All right, let's head back over and inspect them. All right, so still fermenting 85%, so let's sleep for 1 more day just to be sure. And once that fermenting's hit 100%, then we will get silage. So because obviously the grass inside that bale needs to ferment and turn into silage, which allegedly improves the additional nutritional content and helps keep that bale through the winter in real life. Okay, so when there's no grass growing and grass to harvest, you'd stockpile silage in preparation for feeding a large amount of animals over the long period. Alright, now we have silage. Okay, so you can see that bale has now changed, so that's happy days. Alright, now what we want to do is we basically want to go a 50-50 ratio of hay to silage. So let's grab a silage bale off the top here, if this is going to let us pick it up. Yep. Now the front loader is not my preferred tool to do this. I'd probably prefer to use a telehandler, but utilizing what we've got, we can definitely make it work. So you can see now that is filling up the silage bar, and you can see that bale is getting consumed and it's now gone. Okay, so now what we do here is if we grab a hay bale, which is one of these. Now these guys should be equal in volume, so one of these bales, so it might be a little bit short actually. So one's going to be 3,500 litres, this one's 4.5. So if I dump this whole bale in, Yep, okay, cool. So what you do is basically you need to get that recipe and maintain it in the correct ratio. So I'm going to grab another silage bale, if I can line this up correctly. Yeah, so there's 1,000 litres difference, so they're not quite the same. But this is where we'd probably throw a straw bale in. So I've got a feeling this is going to be two hay, 2 silage. And this will give us a pretty good mix. And the other thing too is we want to monitor the capacity of our forage wagon. So that is now 11,000 litres. So halfway full. And you can see it started to mix once we've jumped in. And if we inspect it, you can see down there, rented by you, total mix ration. Okay. Now I'm just going to throw in another hay. Now it's very important that you get this ratio correct. Otherwise what you'll end up with is forage, which is not, it's basically considered the same effectiveness as hay, so you get 80%. So you've got to be careful that your ratio is correct. So if we pop that in there, you can see our hay bar is coming up, our silage bar is coming down. And we're pretty much nearly full. I reckon we could go one more silage and we'd be fine. But what I'm going to do is going to inspect that. Oh, so we are full, I think. Oh no, we've still got a bit more room to go. So we've definitely got total mix ration, so you can see that there. Let's go on and drive this in. So we use the drive-through feeding window. Drive on in. We'll get the overloading trigger. It's coming out the left-hand side, but it's still actually going into the feed. So we can inspect the cows. You can see our total mix ration, 100% effectiveness, is going in. So 16,000 litres. There we go. So that's TMR mixed and delivered to the cows, ready for consumption, and that's going to give us an increase in milk volume, primarily. Okay, so 20% more effectiveness. So let's go ahead and sleep now. And so we're starting with 6,000 litres of milk. So let's see what our figures are after they consume that. Now I've got a feeling these cows are probably going to eat the whole lot in this 1 month cycle, potentially, or close to it at least. So let's have a look. Yeah, so they've consumed pretty much all but 250 litres of that. And our milk's gone up 4,000 litres, and our slurry's gone up as well. So that is pretty much how you start a dairy farm in new farmer mode. So there's a couple of different decisions you can make and different equipment you can use. But basically, the first thing you want to do is you want to get your grass production underway. So you can, at a minimum, create hay. Okay, so if you create hay, you'll have an 80% feed that you can feed the cows straight away, and you can start getting slurry, which we use for fertilisation over here. And then we've also converted some of that grass into silage. So round silage bales and then round hay bales to make TMR in our mixing wagon to get us 100% effectiveness of the feed. Now, obviously we started with 45 cows, but you could start with fewer, let them reproduce and build up their numbers gradually whilst you started to maintain and grow your field sizes. So obviously we combine this field here. We've newly purchased this field out here. So my next steps would be to probably purchase fields 48 and 47 and then really ramp up the grass production. So we've got a constant supply of at least hay as a minimum. And then we've got our milk trailer, which obviously we're selling the milk. But if you want to come on down to the main map, we can purchase the dairy, which is down here. Okay, so that'll be a production point. Initially we can sell to it, and then we can use that to take the milk and turn it into other items. Now, if you didn't want to buy that one, you can purchase a factory here and get the same dairy and build it on the land that you own. Okay, so obviously in this case, we lose a little bit of field, but we could build a dairy on our own farm, which would function the same way as the other one. Okay. And then we can take the milk from, so what do I actually do? It's just for demonstration purposes. Let's just pop it over here. Actually, no, let's just pop it over here. just for demonstration. So I wouldn't do this if this was me. I would go and buy the one on the map and utilize that, but just to show you guys. So this is the dairy, okay? Interaction point here, it's got some UI information. Our products are going to spawn out the back here. And then in our menu, if we go to the production chain menu, which is this icon here, we can see we can make butter and cheese. We can make chocolate if we've got sugar, but we don't have sugar currently, so we can't make it. So let's deliver some milk here. So let's grab a tractor. All right, so let's load up some more milk. Now this is where the cows really start to turn a profit, when you can start to, so you can see the terraforming is a bit out of whack, so that's something you got to be aware of. Okay, overload the milk. So now we're taking the milk from the dairy, so from our dairy cows, our cow barn, to the production point, and you can see the milk supply in the incoming materials is increasing, okay? Now, butter and cheese are going to be our two items that we can sell. So we come into the prices menu. Let's have a look at each of these. So butter will get us roughly 2,000, peak price of just shy of 3,000, and the cheese is going to be somewhere in the order of 5 grand. So let's go and create some cheese. So it takes 3 milk to make 1 cheese. So we turn that production point on. So you can see now it's got a blue dot next to it. And we want to set it to storing, which it is. And what that means is that will store the cheese once it's made in this area here. So let's go ahead and sleep. And hopefully we can get some cheese. All right, so our solar panels are still carrying the team on the leasing costs, but we're still making a profit each day, which is good. All right, so we should have some cheese. So there we go. So now we can take this cheese, we've got to load it up on a trailer with a forklift or some other. So we can use our front loader attachment. We'll just get a pallet fork for that. Lift this up, put it on a trailer, and then take it for sale, okay? So pretty much as easy as that. Now you can set it to auto sell if you like, but you do get a sale penalty of about 30%, I believe. So it's not really worth it, in my opinion. You're better off carting it yourself, because that way you'll make more money. All right, so that's how to start a dairy farm in Farming Simulator 22 in new farmer mode. So you can see that we're profitable. We've got all the machinery, all the land, all the facilities that we need, and we've still got $156,000 in the bank. So what you would do from here is you'd obviously look to make sure you've got enough food. So hay if you're going to go just the hay route, hay and silage if you're going to do TMR, total mixed ration, just so you've got enough feed to keep the cows fed and producing milk. So you can obviously feed your dairy, turn that milk into cheese, so a high value product, okay? So what you'd potentially look to do from here, so if you've maxed out on 1 cow barn, you'd probably look to get a second cow barn eventually, but you'd need 250k for that. What I'd probably look to do now is increase the land size, so purchasing this field, and then seeding more grass, building up your production that way, and then just slowly but surely increasing the number of cows, because obviously we can go as high as, if we're looking at the cow buildings, so a cow barn large for 80 cows, or another cow barn for 45, just depends on your budget. Or you could look to add in another element of farming, so some different animals. So sheep is a good complement to cows and vice versa, because they eat grass, and you're already producing grass and you're already producing silage, so they're easy to feed in that regard. And then you get wool, clothes, fabric, so it starts to layer in some extra income streams. We could look to put more solar panels down, but basically if you're going to go just down the dairy route, that's something you could look to do. The other thing you could consider is to get a cow pasture. Okay, so one of these guys. So I'm just going to pop this down here. And you could put the cows in, okay? So if we come in here, so not the milk cows, but the breeding cows. So I'm just going to buy 2 of these. So the Angus, for example. So basically, if we have a look at these guys, so they're 18 months old, they don't produce anything other than they increase in value up to about $3,500 on easy economy after 36 months. So if we feed these guys, so basically what you would do here is you would feed them just hay, because the TMR is only effective in milk production. These guys don't produce milk, so we might as well just have them on the 80% feed to fatten them up, and then we can get a decent profit out of them. The other thing you can consider as well is if you didn't want to go 18 months, you could buy them at 300, 0 months old, hold them in for 36 months, feed them consistently, and then sell them off once they're 36 months old, 3,500 in price, and start layering that in to your farming as well. And you can do this in vice versa. So you can do the cattle first and then the milk second. But I feel like this is a good complement to do after dairy. So set up your dairy enterprise first, because you've got all the infrastructure you need to look after cows. And then you just throw in the beef cattle in the pens like this, okay? Because the pen is a lot cheaper. Obviously, it holds less animals, but we can feed them and get them to reproduce. And obviously, if you want to keep the reproduction happening, you can just start to throw down additional pens. So the offspring from, you know, this group can go into here, and you can start building out your feedlots, essentially. But the only downside to that is it takes up your land. So you need to make sure you've got enough land available to sustain the feeding, and then just sort of build it out from there. So there you have it, guys. My guide on how to set up a dairy farm in Farming Simulator 22 in new farm mode. So got any questions, leave them below in the comments. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.